A fertilizer used in a rich gated community becomes the source of a genetic mutation that transforms its residents into zombies. Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is a comedy horror from 2021 titled Brain Freeze. The movie begins in an upscale Montreal neighborhood with restricted access, where a biotech company is hired to manage the golf course of an elite golf club. They use their newest fertilizer to spray the area, which makes the snow melt and keeps the grass looking lush and green even in winter, allowing wealthy people to play golf all year round. The following day, Dan, a security guard in town, brings home some supplies. He's really into preparing for emergencies and listens to a radio show that talks about all sorts of conspiracy theories, which has influenced his thinking a lot. Tonight, Dan attempted to start a fire without matches but failed. In a risky move, he decided to use the gunpowder from a shotgun shell, which led to a minor explosion, burning off one of his eyebrows. Meanwhile, Dan's daughter, Patricia, worked as a caddy at the golf club. The CEO of a biotech company, Michelle, was playing golf with a wealthy couple to showcase the effectiveness of their grass treatment. However, unbeknownst to them, the fertilizer under the ground was multiplying and contaminating the town's water supply. In another part of town, an actor named Jacques drank tap water before heading out to do some grocery shopping. At the store, all the fruits and tools were washed with the same tap water. Additionally, water was sprinkled on the shelves to keep perishable items fresh. Suddenly, Jacques begins feeling dizzy but decides to ignore it. When he reaches home, he notices that his teeth are turning green and that his stomach is growling. Eventually, he finds his wife in the bathroom, but he has transformed into a zombie and ends up biting her, causing her to transform as well. They both end up in the tub, their eyes turning green as they stop moving. Meanwhile, back at the club, Michelle and the couple return to the main building, only to find it deserted. Suddenly, a man rushes out, shouting that everyone must run because people are getting sick. A bunch of zombie employees start chasing him. At the same time, a dog appears, and the wife calls it over. However, the dog viciously attacks her, biting her neck. Michelle and the husband throw the dog away, but more zombies appear. While the wife's body changes, both men rush inside and lock the door to keep the zombies out. However, their relief is short-lived as the dog manages to sneak in and bite the husband on the leg. They confine the infected dog to another room. Outside, zombies gather at the door, pounding to get in. The situation worsens when the husband succumbs to the infection, turning into a zombie, and starts chasing after Michelle. Michelle, in desperation, grabs a knife and hides in the kitchen. In the town, Dan receives a complaint from an elderly lady about her neighbor's loud and disruptive behavior. When Dan goes to check it out and rings the bell, the neighbors appear at the door, revealing they're zombies. At the same time, the old lady turns into a zombie too and starts chasing after Dan. He hides in his car and tries calling for backup, but nobody answers him. More zombies appear outside his window. Dan also tries calling Patricia, but she doesn't answer because she's busy trying to escape from zombies. Feeling worried, Dan decides to leave the company car to look for his daughter in his own car, which has a weapon. Nearby, a teenage boy named Andre almost uses tap water to make his baby sister's milk, but his mother reminds him to use bottled water to keep the baby safe. Andre never drinks water of any kind, preferring soda. Soon after, the mother starts feeling dizzy, but Andre blames it on her exercising. Suddenly, the mother turns into a zombie and tries to attack Andre, chasing him through the house. Terrified, Andre runs outside and trips. As the mother is about to reach him, Dan hits her with his car. She's injured but still alive, and Andre wants to help her, but Dan stops him. He explains that 911 isn't answering and advises Andre to hide in his house while he goes to get help. More zombies are coming, but Andre refuses to leave his mother. He grabs her legs and drags her back into the house. After rushing to close all the doors, he tries calling 911, only to hear a recording saying that the island is under quarantine. At the bridge connecting the island with the mainland, it's revealed that city cops have set up a gate, blocking anyone from entering or leaving. At that moment, the mother tries to attack Annie, so Andre pulls her away and locks her in the bathroom. The mother notices water dripping from the shower head and decides to get into the tub. In the meantime, Annie keeps crying, which attracts more zombies to gather outside the door. Andre decides to cover Annie with pillows, a blanket, and even a big plushie until her crying can't be heard anymore, causing the zombies to leave. Minutes later, Andre's cat returns through the pet door, and a zombie almost grabs Andre as it reaches inside. Andre leaves the room, and the zombie stops moving, only to start again when Andre returns with a golf club. Instead of attacking, the zombie hides. Meanwhile, at the golf club, Patricia hides in the garage and finally calls her dad, Dan, for help. Dan arrives and finds several zombies outside, but doesn't hesitate to fight them. He quickly kills a few with a knife and knocks down others before rushing inside. At the same time, the police move away from the bridge gate because the military arrives in planes to bomb the main areas of the island, cutting off the power. The next morning, Annie's nanny tries to take the bridge to go to work, but it's been destroyed. Meanwhile, Andre records the zombies through the window, only pausing to watch a press conference by the Minister of Public Security. The minister explains they had to destroy the bridge to isolate the problem and assures everyone that the situation is under control. At that moment, Andre's phone runs out of battery. Later, Andre checks on his mom and notices she's covered in some green goo. Suddenly, Annie crawls in, and the mom tries to attack her. Andre makes noise and shakes her favorite vegetables to make her follow him instead. They eventually reach the living room, and the mom accidentally bumps against the TV stand, causing the television to fall and kill her. Devastated, Andre has no choice but to take the body back to the bathroom and notices grass growing on her injuries. He then tries to use her phone, but sadly, it's broken. Andre takes a ladder to the front door to look outside and confirms the zombies are just standing there under the sun. Tired of being confined, he grabs a golf club and puts Annie in a baby carrier before opening the door, letting the zombies see the cat and chase after it. With the entrance now clear, Andre runs as fast as he can toward the grocery store, while the zombies chase him. The doors are locked, and he almost gets surrounded by the monsters. Suddenly, a door opens, and Dan pulls him inside. Dan has been there since yesterday, and has set up a makeshift camping space, but he doesn't have a plan. All boats have been taken away, and swimming in the river would lead to hypothermia. Andre searches for baby formula while Annie explores, and she unexpectedly discovers a zombie behind locked doors. It turns out to be Patricia, who has also been infected. Dan keeps her around, hoping someone might find a cure later. Meanwhile, at the golf club, Michel has reinforced all the doors and is using a radio to communicate with his people at the company. They inform him that experts are on their way, and he must follow protocol. The zombie dog keeps barking at him, so he kicks it away. It's also revealed that he's killed his friend in the kitchen. Back at the store, Dan still struggles to start a fire, so Andre simply uses a blowtorch. While they eat, they listen to Dan's favorite radio show, which suggests that eco-terrorists are behind the zombie attack. The host interviews the Minister of Security, who dodges questions with vague answers, raising suspicions that the government might sacrifice citizens to clean the area. Dan decides to call the radio station to ask for help, but the host points out that the rest of the world doesn't want the infection, so they need more information before taking sides. Frustrated, Dan hangs up. Later, Dan and Andre discuss their options and agree they should find the cause of the outbreak so a vaccine can be developed. Dan believes the water might be the source because everyone consumes it, but he doesn't drink tap water due to his paranoia. He even entertains the idea that terrorists might have poisoned the water, which Andre finds absurd. Shortly after, the trio leaves the store with Patricia, whose head is secured in a cage to prevent her from biting. They encounter several zombies covered in green goo, basking in the sun. A little girl attacks Dan upon seeing him, but he pushes her away, unable to bring himself to harm her. The group manages to reach Dan's car before the zombies catch up and safely leave the area. Meanwhile, a pair of armed twins sent by the biotech company arrive at the golf club. They effortlessly shoot down any zombies that try to impede their progress. Inside, Michel is burning all the contracts and documents related to his deal with the club, but he keeps a small sample of the fertilizer. The twins eventually find Michel, who tries to take one of their suitcases containing spheres filled with the cure for the infection. When Michel grabs a sphere, the twins capture him and force him to eat the fertilizer sample before knocking him out. As they drag his body away, one of the spheres falls to the floor. Back with the survivors, they arrive at the water plant and decide to leave Annie in the car to avoid attracting zombies with her crying. They can't leave Patricia alone with the baby, so Dan and Andre bring her along when they enter the building. Inside, they discover a zombie lurking in the water. Patricia senses its presence and starts running to find it, forcing the guys to follow her. She quickly locates the pool and jumps in, prompting Dan to jump in after her to rescue her. Suddenly, the other zombie emerges and almost attacks. However, Dan uses Patricia as a shield, causing the other zombie to hesitate. Andre realizes that the zombies won't attack each other, but when he speaks up, the monster starts chasing him. While Andre flees outside and more zombies join the chase, Dan tries to get Patricia out of the water, but accidentally tears off her arm in the process. Eventually, Andre reaches the car to hide, and soon Dan joins him, using Patricia as a shield to keep the zombies away. They join the siblings in the car, and Andre discovers Patricia's phone. He uses her severed arm to unlock it, and notices grass growing on the wound. Dan remembers the golf club's latest innovation, and realizes that this situation isn't the work of terrorists, but rather the result of something related to the golfers. At the golf club, the twins start breaking the spheres on the grass to eliminate all evidence. Soon after, Dan's group arrives and notices the strange smoke on the grass, prompting Andre to record everything. They hurry to the front door but find it locked, so Dan searches for another entrance. He climbs onto the roof and enters to unlock the door for the others. Then, he locks Patricia in a storage room, while Andre creates a playpen for Annie using chairs. As Dan and Andre explore the building, they come across the dog, still breathing and covered in grass. Dan starts feeling dizzy, and Annie begins crying. Andre rushes to calm her down, but discovers she's escaped the playpen. While Andre searches for his sister, Dan explores a dark corridor and finds a room filled with bombs set to explode soon. Despite feeling worse, Dan refuses to give up and continues until he discovers the room with the timer connected to all the explosives. Dan collapses and is too weak to stand, so he uses Patricia's arm to stop the timer just before his eyes turn green as well. Outside, the twins realize nothing is exploding and return inside to investigate. They find Annie in the kitchen and try to feed her the fertilizer before leaving. Meanwhile, Andre continues searching and spots a zombified Michelle in a locked room. He quickly runs the other way and eventually finds his sister, rescuing her. In another room, Andre encounters the twins, who cover Annie's mouth and try to force-feed him the fertilizer. Just before they can administer it, Annie turns into a zombie and bites one of the twins' fingers off. The other twin nearly gets attacked by Dan, but when she fights him off, Andre pushes her towards Dan, who also gets bitten. As Andre steps back, he accidentally triggers the cure sphere, releasing smoke that starts entering both Danny and Dan. Afterward, Dan chases Andre into the kitchen, but just as he's about to bite him, he senses Annie's presence and stops. At the same time, the twins draw their guns and shoot each other simultaneously, preventing one from completing their transformation into a zombie. Following this, Andre retrieves Dan's old-school phone from his jacket and uses it to make Patricia's phone ring. When he locates it, he records a video explaining everything and pleading for help. While the video spreads to the news, Andre takes Dan to the storage room so he can be with his daughter. In response, the government deploys military helicopters to address the crisis. Soldiers equipped with flamethrowers proceed to eliminate any zombies they find. Andre, seeking help, takes Patricia's arm to contribute to vaccine development. However, another survivor reaches the soldiers first and gets shot down. As the cure starts working and Annie begins to recover, Andre decides to hide because it's clear the soldiers aren't there to rescue anyone. Meanwhile, at the golf club, Dan also shows signs of recovery. However, when the soldiers enter, they immediately incinerate both him and Patricia without a moment's hesitation. The Minister of Public Security declares that the infection has been contained and eradicated. However, he's caught on camera drinking from a mug with the biotech company's logo, suggesting he was involved in the conspiracy from the beginning. Meanwhile, Andre continues to explore and discovers more bodies of survivors who were executed by the soldiers. In a twist of fate, Andre spots a boat on the river manned by volunteers led by Annie's nanny. They rescue Andre without hesitation, and as they leave the island, Andre realizes Patricia's arm is no longer useful. In a symbolic gesture, He throws it into the water, where a fish bites into it and turns into a zombie, suggesting the cycle of infection might not be over. Thanks for watching, like, and subscribe for more videos.